Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the course, to this workshop. I think we can start as the others will join us shortly. I see a couple more persons joined, so welcome once again. Yeah. So I'm glad that you're here and that we can probably start the ball rolling. Okay. So welcome to this workshop once again, this webinar, I should say. And in this webinar, we're going to cover a few things, just some pointers in getting your course prepared for the upcoming semester. Yeah, we know that this is the direction that the campus or the wider university is heading. And so we need to be prepared for it, and we need to prepare our courses, and we need to prepare our students to also cope along the way. All right. So right off the bat, you know, anyone who knows some of the who have been there, and by the way, I noticed some persons from a session we did yesterday. So glad to see you guys here. Some of the material, a little bit, might seem familiar to you. All right. So that's okay, and feel free to chime in wherever you can. All right. So right off the bat, we're going to start with a nice little icebreaker. I know it's after lunch, so you know. But we can't do anything, any physical activity. So the most I can do at this point, and given the time frame for this session, is probably just a quick poll. So I want you to take a quick poll. It should pop up on your screen now. And tell us, what do you think is the most important element for remote teaching? All right, so far we just have 9 persons to respond still. And we have quite a diverse set of responses so far. Caroline, 3. Okay. Feel free just to click on the poll in front of you if you can. All right, so I know some persons are still voting, so I'll give a couple more seconds. So far, the competitors or the leading answers seem to be between having a course plan and my e-learning. Continue to vote, and we. I know we just passed the elections, but continue to place make your choice. All right, we have, I think, 7 more persons to respond, but that's okay. We have, let me see if I can show you the, yes, Sandra. Let me just type in the chat. I think Sandra is not hearing me. Let me just give a little help there. Can you? Okay, so far we have in the lead we have a course plan, and I think I know some of the persons who identify course plan. Hopefully it would have been some of you from yesterday. All right, and from the session we did yesterday, so that's okay. So we have in the lead a course plan, followed very closely by my e-learning. And then with equal parts, we have a course outline and Blackboard Collaborate. Can anyone who decided to, who chose, let's see, my e-learning, Feel free, just can you give a reason for your answer? Anybody? Even if it's not, just my learning, for any of the responses that you gave, can you just give anybody a reason for your answer? Denise, go ahead.
I had chosen the course plan primarily because, well, kind of because I did attend the session.
Go ahead, Denise.
So yes, can you hear me? I have the mic on.
I think, did you click on your microphone?
Yes. Anyway, I'll just do the online.
I'm not sure if Denise. Okay, you chose course plan. Oh, you are hearing. Okay, great. I didn't hear. I think. Okay, good. I just checked my audio. Okay, Denise, could you just explain once again? Right. Before technology, there was remote teaching. Right. Okay. All right. Janelle, I think you people used to take mailing courses. Fair enough. And the plan was required. Okay, good. Go ahead.
Hello?
Caroline? Yes, go ahead.
The reason why I chose Blackboard Collaboration is that that's the place where the course plan and the outline becomes real to the student. So I think that is the most important. Yeah.
I like that perspective. I haven't thought of it like that, but how it becomes real for people. Okay, good. I like that perspective. Roderick? Between 2 and 4. Okay. And why? Okay, well, you could tell us why were you kind of torn between the two? It's a basic elements, and we need to deliver online. Okay, good. Similar reasons to Denise. Okay, good. So I like the way you guys are thinking. I really do. And we have some good reasonings behind the or logic behind the choices. And the real answer is all of them are important. Yeah. Yes, you need to plan. You need to plan. And a plan is extremely important, and I see that's in the lead now. I think some people are changing their. Oh, I didn't show you the responses. Some people change their responses, and that's okay. So in the lead we have the course plan, and as we go further, we'll see where the course plan comes in the whole scheme of things, where my learning comes in, where the course outline comes in, and also where Blackboard and other technologies and so on, or elements come in. All right, so I think we're off to a good start. I like the diverse or divergent thinking that we have here. Some seem to, Blackboard collaborate. I didn't think the way Caroline said it, I think is quite I didn't think about that before, so I like that. So Caroline, you taught me something right there. All right, so as we move on, guys, so this session, we're going to look at a couple things. Some of them include, of course, what is remote teaching and learning. Some people may be familiar with it. Then we're going to look at some of the course changes that you would need to make to allow for your students to keep up with the course, for example. And remember, in student-centered teaching, you really want to make it as easy as possible for students, and not easy in terms of the ensuring that they pass the course, but easy in terms of that transition, because in some cases, you may have students who are not used to remote teaching and learning. Yeah, so that is something you want to cater or consider while you build your courses. And of course, we're going to look at some technology tools, not in any, we're going to evaluate it, let me say it like that. As opposed to just navigate through these tools, we're going to just evaluate some of them that may be familiar to you, the in-house or internal technologies, and also some of the potential external ones, all right? And of course, some of the group from FST could could take the lead in that as well. All right, so when we think of remote teaching, just off the bat, we think of teaching outside the physical classroom. All right. Now you might be wondering, okay, isn't that online teaching and learning? Which is true. They're very close, but there's a fine line between the two. Can anybody take a guess? Take a while, guess it, you know. What is the difference between remote teaching and learning versus online teaching and learning? It can be done by phone. Okay, good. It can be done by phone, which isn't online. Okay, the use of the internet, good. Remote doesn't necessarily, I like that. Remote doesn't necessarily mean online. That is true, right? In addition to that, when we think of remote teaching and learning, remember we would have moved from, let's say, blended or face-to-face, and then we went to emergency remote teaching and learning, all right, which was more of a crisis management approach, for lack of a better term. All right, of course, we know the pandemic, the COVID dispensation kind of, you know, had things, you know, we had to adjust, basically. And part of that adjustment, now that we are at this stage where it's no longer something as recent to qualify as an emergency mechanism, but now we can call it just remote teaching and learning. Meaning that, and that should, the underlying reason would be that now, okay, we're aware of this thing. So now that we know that we will not be teaching face-to-face for a little bit, at least for this coming semester. So now that knowledge, we can prepare in advance, yeah? Or we can, I guess that's, we can prepare knowing that this is the current situation, all right? It didn't catch us by surprise. And that's how teaching and learning is, yeah? Because nothing in teaching and learning should really catch you by surprise, because you're so prepared that sometimes you prepare even for the quote-unquote unexpected turn of events, all right? So remote teaching, of course, and learning occurs outside the physical classroom. It may or may not be via the internet. It can be via phone or whatever the means might be. Of course, in this case, we're referring more specifically to the internet to facilitate our delivery. Now, as we see in the second point, it's facilitated through video conferencing software, discussion boards, and LMS or learning management systems such as My Learning. All right, and I highlighted these things because I'm sorry, no problem, Roderick. The recording will be used, and I can send it to you as well, to everyone in this session. Is that okay? If you would like, you can also take notes, because there are some things that maybe you know, you might want to, you know, remember quite in detail. So, and of course, the research shows no problem at all. And of course, the research shows that, you know, what you hear, you remember more of what you hear and what you write at the same time. So it's a good way to commit it to deeper memory. All right, so I highlighted some of these things in blue here because of very key or salient things to note. Of course, the technologies, the video conferencing software, the LMS, those are two primary platforms you will need. And of course, another thing about remote teaching and learning is that it can be done synchronously and asynchronously. Yeah. And this would be a benefit to you. Not everything you will have to meet with your class live in a live session. There are some things, and you might want to take that time to as you go forward in planning your course and so on, or making the adjustment. There are some things that you may not necessarily need to do synchronously. You might want to consider, for example, what material you can give that would allow students to read and cover through independent study. Yeah, which would be really asynchronous. So you can determine what you would like to be synchronous versus asynchronous in your different elements of your course. I would recommend, by the way, that it should be a combination of the two. I'm saying that you wouldn't want to have your entire course synchronous. Neither would you want to have your entire course as something, yes, like a blend of the two. Yeah, it's all remote / online. I'm using that loosely. All right, but you want to mix it up a bit, not just synchronous, because if you try to do everything synchronously, then you're going to end up with 6-hour and 5-hour long virtual sessions, when really you could probably just have a 2-hour virtual lecture or synchronous session, and then give the rest of the material to be covered asynchronously, where students can read the material, engage in different activities that you might set up, and those sorts of things. All right. And particularly in this context, the remote delivery is something that we are using as a temporary approach. Remember, I said that this pandemic has brought the need for us to adjust or to adapt, and so this is one of them. Yeah. So it's not officially, quote unquote, officially online, but it's remote. Yeah. So some of the things that you will need in this remote delivery, these are the 5 primary things that you're gonna need along the way. My Learning, Blackboard Collaborate, assessments. All right, we need the assessments obviously because that would help you measure whether students accomplish the objective or not. Course activities for engagement, all right, and continuous learning, so to speak. And of course, course content. What are you reading? What are the, not you reading, but what do you want the students to read? What are the materials that you would provide for students? And some of you, especially if you've been using My Learning or taking a similar approach before, you would realize that you don't need to start from scratch, and that's a plus, right? So good. So yes, you have, so if I were to take a top-down approach with this graphic, you need to consider your course content. So that might be articles, case studies, videos, lecture notes even. And you may not even need lecture notes at this point because you can easily record your virtual synchronous sessions. You can pre-record them or you can record live sessions for students to review and so on. Then of course your course activities, all right, such as a discussion forum, a practice quiz, for example, your assessments, all right, and of course the form that you will be using for virtual synchronous delivery. All right, and all of that is housed in, well, should be housed in My E-Learning, which is the LMS. Does that make sense? So that way, great. So that way the LMS should be your main platform. It should be the one-stop shop for students. So students don't have to go to different platforms and then wonder, okay, where's the link for this, where's the link for that? But it's a one-stop shop. So it makes it easier for students to navigate, and even for you, because for you it'll also be a one-stop shop because everything pertaining to your course will be in that LMS. All right? So that should, and I know, great, Rian, I know sometimes it could be a bit overwhelming to remember different passwords and all these different things. But if you have everything housed in My Learning, it's going to ease up that challenge. All right. Great. Good question. What does an LMS mean? An LMS is an acronym for Learning Management System. All right. And a learning management system is a, yes, right. Thanks so much, Roderick. So, and that learning management system is, well, of course, is usually online. It's an online learning management system that allows you to communicate with your students and even with fellow lecturers or instructors in the course. It allows you to deliver assessments and, of course, facilitates the submission of assessments. And it allows you to, I said communication already, right? Right. And it allows you to do the administration for your course, whether it is, you want to put students in groups, whether you want to put students to do a particular task, and so on, or even grade students. All right. So that's just a little tidbit there. So as we move forward, these are some things I want you to be mindful of. Like I said, you don't have to start from scratch, right? Because you have I would like to think that you have the material, the reading material at least. Now you might just need to tweak the activities and the assessments. So for example, you may have had an online, a face-to-face exam at some point in your course. This, however, is no longer suitable given the current dispensation. So that means you would need to revise that and make some tweaks or adjust. But all of these adjustments must be aligned with your learning goals and objectives. So the teaching activities that you might have, the assessments that you would be reviewing and so on, they still have to align with the overall course objectives. All right, make sense? So if we, this would warrant that we stop and think a little bit. All right, think, for example, about what you already have. Think you already have the material, most of you, correct? You have the reading material, you have the videos, you have the case studies, you have all of that material. All right, so you're not starting from scratch. All right, now you just need to tweak some elements of the course. Some of them, as we see here, would be the face-to-face sessions, would be the class activities, and the assessments. So for example, with face-to-face sessions, you wouldn't be doing physical face-to-face sessions. You would have to do them via Blackboard, for example. Yeah? With the class activities, they can't be in-class physical activities, but they would probably have to be, they will be virtual activities. All right? For example, if it's a collaborative activity or even an assessment, students will have to do this online. And there are different platforms I'll show later on that you might want to incorporate even in your instructions to students, so they at least know where they can go to, or what tools they can use to complete certain activities or assessments. So like I said, so you could give a sigh of relief. You don't have to start from scratch, especially where you would have moved or transitioned from face-to-face or blended to emergency remote. That would have required you to put more stuff online. And this is just a step further. Now it's remote. So now you're going to prepare the entire course. Previously, during the emergency remote phase, you may have just done the latter half of the course for the most part. This time, however, you'll be doing the entire course. So it's not I guess you could allay your fears a little bit that you don't have to start from scratch. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. So, and of course, you're not going to require course approval and so on, because remember, this is just a temporary adjustment. All right. So as we go further, so I'm going to outline some steps and and some elements that you would need to look at or pay attention to. Right off the bat, you're going to need your course outline. Remember the icebreaker, we looked at the course outline. And then if you look at step 2, would be the course plan. You might be wondering, well, what's the difference between the two? Can anybody elaborate on that or answer that? I know some of you from the session yesterday might be able to. Feel free to answer. Anybody? You can take a wild guess. What is the difference between the course outline and the course plan? A plan is more detailed. Good. Very good, sir. Arif, go ahead.
How do you implement the course outline?
Right. Okay. Okay, good. I like that perspective. I like that. Muli, you said outline is what is on the course. The plan is how it will be delivered. I like that, Muli. Very good. Janelle said course plan states what activities will be done, when and how. On point. Very good. I think someone raised their hand. Go ahead. Adele?
Is it that the plan is the lecturers and the outline is for the students as well?
That's a good question, Adele. Now I know in some cases we know the outline would probably be will be something you share with the students. Yeah, that's a given. You can share the course plan with the students. All right, and when I say that, I mean now it depends on the entire design of your course. If it is that in the plan you placed the instructions for a particular assignment you don't want really to reveal as many details to students just yet, you want to reveal it incrementally, then I would recommend that you don't share the plan. If it is a plan that does not have as many specifications in terms of what the instruction is for a particular, like this specific instruction for a particular assignment, for example, then if it doesn't have that, then you can share it with them. But I would recommend you can even have a teacher's course plan, which would not be much different, and a student course plan. The student course plan would just let students know, okay, these are the synchronous sessions. These are the activities that I'll have to do, all right? And these are the weeks I'll have to do them. So at least students could be able to schedule their time accordingly, because keep in mind that students will have your course in addition to 5 to 6 other courses as well. So this works, you know, it helps them to organize their time a little bit. So I would recommend that. In some cases, I don't want to say a one size fits all, but to be on the safe side, you can probably create one specifically for you, so you know exactly what instructions need to be given, and of course the students know what days and what activities and so on lie ahead. In the past, I'm reading the chat, sorry. Right, your outline sort of summarizes the plan, Roderick. Okay, good. But you would still need to give, because I'll explain in just a bit. You would still need to create a course plan, even if it's just for you, because the course plan has a lot more details than what the outline may have. Elizabeth, in the past, my course outline has been so detailed. That's what is like a course plan. Is that okay? Okay, that's not that is good. But when I show you what a sample or template of a course plan looks like, I guess you could chime in, yeah, and see, because I wouldn't know what your course plan might be, but I guess you knowing both sides will be able to make a better decision. But I would recommend that, generally speaking, the average outline usually only has general information. The course plan has a little more, yeah? So now the course outline, out of the course plan, sorry, comes out of the course outline, yeah? So out of the course outline, you look at your course outline, as you saw in the previous slide, look at your course outline, which you already have, all right? And you're gonna remember you have to make adjustments too, right? Roderick and Elizabeth, you're gonna have to make adjustments in terms of what is synchronous, what is not synchronous, what are some activities here and there that need to be adjusted. So that's where the course plan comes in, all right? And the course plan also informs you in terms of building or developing, well, I wouldn't say developing, but building your course design, yeah? So far, so good? So let me share what a course plan may look like. And sometimes, you know, it varies, but this is kind of just a little view. Now, it may look a little small to you, or fine, the text might be fine, or small, just click on the top left side of your screen. You should see something with a magnifying glass close to the top. An icon with a magnifying glass. Click on that, and then click on the plus sign. All right. Now, this template is just an example, right? That would give you an idea of what a course plan includes. Of course, at the top, at the very extreme left here, you're going to see the week. Now, it doesn't have to be week 1, week 2, week 3, and 12 weeks down the line. It might very well be weeks 1 to 2, weeks 2 to weeks 3 to 4. That could also work. Also, it's in the second column, you want to identify the topic or module. Yeah. Now remember, some of this is already in your course outline, so you're not starting from scratch. All right. And then of course you have the objectives. So the first 3 columns you just taken straight from your course outline. All right. Now this is where it gets a little different. So in the instructional activities, this is where you identify, well, first of all, what the activities are. All right. What the activities are, what they comprise, and even what is identified as synchronous versus asynchronous. So for example, in any normal module, you're going to have more than one activity. So look at this one here, the instructional activities in this first row. I have synchronous activities, the online lecture, for example, and I put the hours just to be specific. And the asynchronous would be the online discussion. Now, the online discussion can take place before or after that synchronous session. And then I went a step further to identify, well, to state what the discussion entails. And that's optional, of course, for you. Now, in the learner participation column, this is what I require students, or what I expect students to do. In other words, what I did here is just place the instructions for the activity or activities. So for example, remember in the previous column, I identified an online discussion. So in this learner participation column, all I did was put the instructions. So when I'm building my course now, I can just copy and paste straight from here into the discussion forum in my learning, as opposed to now trying to, see how I can phrase it. All right. Now, I guess by now you're probably making the connection that the course plan makes building your course a lot faster, a lot more systematic, a lot more cohesive, a lot more intentional with certain things. Yeah. Added to that, now once you determine the activities and the learner participation, then you want to identify the instructional media to facilitate the activities and so on that you previously mapped out. So for example, in this case, it might be, as you see here, Blackboard Collaborate, or the LMS, My Learning. All right. And at the end of it, at the very end, we have the assessment strategy. Now the assessment, you might have some of it in your course outline again, but you would also have, I would like to think that you would probably look at activities, the interactive activities and so on, as part of the assessment, ongoing assessment. It doesn't have to be an official assessment, but at least it gives you an idea that, okay, students are getting this, or students are still struggling with this concept, that sort of thing. Yeah? Any questions on this so far? So Roderick or Elizabeth, do you want to, could you elaborate in terms of what, because you would know what you have in your outlines. Do you see a difference, or do you see it being the same? Similar. Okay, good, good. So you see how the course plan is a lot more detailed than, right, Elizabeth, great. So the course plan is a lot more detailed. Think about it like this. Is anyone into baking? I treading on, lightly because, yeah, I'm trying to make an analogy, but I didn't think it through yet. But if you're into baking, they would tell you, for example, 1 cup of flour, right? If you follow the recipe for whatever it is you might be making. I don't want to say what it is because that is where I'm going to reveal some of my shortcomings. So I wouldn't say if it's a cake, bread, or whatever, but generally speaking, if they might tell you 1 cup of flour, yeah? Or you might see a list of the ingredients that you need: flour, sugar, butter, and a host of other ingredients. And then lower down, you might see the specifications. How much flour? It might be a cup, 1.5 cups, and then you might need to sift it. So you see you're going through, further details. And this is the relationship between the course outline, which would be the general, okay, 1 cup, flour, you're going to need flour, sugar, milk, eggs, butter, and the course plan. Okay, I was just calling random ingredients, but thanks so much, Muli. But the course plan would be 1 cup of flour sifted. The butter must be soft or melted, that kind of thing. Or it might just be the egg yolk or the egg white. Sounds like rock. I guess you could send me the recipe, so I might experiment a bit. All right. So good. So does that clarify things for you, guys? Okay, great. So so that kind of outlines the course plan, and this is why it's so important that we plan. And if you need to zoom out, you can just click the minus sign at the close to the top of the left side of the screen, so it wouldn't be stretched too much. All right, on your screen, that is. So anyways, so this is why it's so important to plan, because sometimes in your course outline you might say, okay, I'm going to do this lecture on this week, but the course outline may not necessarily identify how is this going to be done, what platform you're going to use, or you understand what I mean? Then then you might be scrambling the day before the lecture, the synchronous session, to try to create your Blackboard room or link, yeah? And then you might want to look over your presentation, because now you can't really do certain things that you would do in a face-to-face presentation. So you might want to tweak your PowerPoint. Yeah? So this is why it's so important to plan, because when you plan, you minimize the likelihood of unexpected events catching you by surprise, right? That kind of thing. So keep that in mind. Now, as you plan, there are some things that will come that you want to, pay attention to. And these are the 8 elements that you want to address. All right. You should have a course welcome or introduction or introductory activity, because remember now students are not it's not like we're meeting all in JFK lecture hall or Dagger Auditorium or CLL, or we're not all meeting in a face-to-face. They're not all meeting in a face-to-face lecture theater. So now you can, so the familiarity that might occur or interaction that might occur when they meet face-to-face is no longer there. So now you have to find ways of breaking the ice. All right, and globally, this is something that is done anytime you go into an online or remote course. It's always, you're gonna have to introduce yourself, at least, and it doesn't have to be synchronously. You can easily create a discussion forum where students will introduce themselves, what's their major, that kind of thing. So keep that in mind. And of course, the course welcome is just you stating, okay, this is, Justin Zephyrine, etc., contact information, email or whatever, and I'm the facilitator for this course, etc. Now you could do an introduction. Traditionally, you could do it just placing the text at the top of My Learning, and you'll see what it looks like in just a bit. Or you could create a simple screencast, or it doesn't even have to be a screencast. It could be a simple video or PowerPoint or something of that nature, or just an audio file, which you can upload in this current version of My Learning to welcome the students to your course. All right. So it doesn't have to be as static as just saying, okay, I am so and so. I'm the course lecturer or facilitator. Full stop. All right. So keep that in mind. You could be flexible with it. You could be creative. Yeah. Now, out of these elements, there are some things that are more pressing. Let me say it like that, or more immediate. Right off the bat, you're going to have to look at number 3. Right. Number 3, definitely. Number 4. Number 6. Number 5, sorry, as well. All right, but number 5 could come later on. I guess, well, number 5, you could plan for it. So 3, 4, 5, and to an extent, number 2 would be the most immediate. 3, 4, and 5, and 6. All right. And can anyone tell me why those might be the most immediate things to look at or address? Anybody? Okay, most complex or time consuming. Fair enough. Anybody else? Substance of the, okay, I like that. Very good. Substance of the course. Yes. It's the course content. Yes, you're very right, Muli. Good. So it's the course content. So you want to make sure you have that down to a T. And when I say down to a T, it doesn't have to be perfect, but at least you must have something there. And the good, like I said, you don't have to start from scratch. That's the good part about it. You just bring certain things from your previous course, if you had stuff before, and you could make tweaks and adjustments here and there. And of course, your course plan, this is why the course plan is so important, will help you identify where the tweaks might need to be made and what kinds of tweaks you need to make. So, for example, planning your sessions, what could be synchronous, what could be asynchronous? In Blackboard, you could pre-record your presentation, and then students, you can schedule it and make it available to students subsequently. So that might be one way to take it. All right. Of course, your course learning activities, they're no longer face-to-face. Now you have to re-strategize or adjust. It might be a practice quiz. It might be a poll. It might be some particular exercise, a presentation of some sort. All right. Now, in these, because your course is more remote, and I'm sharing this, it's not foundational in this particular session, but there are 3 things you want to make sure you satisfy in any course design, in any remote or online course design. And that is the teaching presence, the social presence, and the cognitive presence. This teaching presence would be you, of course, being the teacher. You are there to help make connections, help the students make connections between different aspects of the course. As students interact with each other and with the course material, you are there to kind of connect it, yeah, and to engage the students in the course. The cognitive presence refers to where you might have, where you place the material. We just spoke about content and resources. So you're placing reading material, you're placing videos and so on in My Learning. And so students need to engage with that material and make, it must be meaningful to them. They must, basically, cognitive presence is kind of self-explanatory. It's really where the student is going through the material, looking at the instructions and all these different things. And the cognitive processes are taking effect, yeah? Learning, in other words, is taking place. And the final one, social presence. Now, no one presence is more prominent than the other. They work cohesively. The social presence, and I guess I could ask you this, what do you think the social presence might be? Anybody? You could take a wild guess. Right, students. Okay, good. You're close. Interactions. That's it. Interaction. So connecting with their fellow students. Exactly. That's exactly it. So because remember, in the online environment, it's much easier to feel, and the teacher. Yes, Denise, definitely. So it's communication or interaction among students and between students and teacher, the facilitators of the course. And I was saying that it's much easier in an online or remote course for students to feel isolated or lost. All right. And remember, you are not there face to face to say, well, you could just read their body language and see, okay, so and so is lost or so and so needs help. And in some cases, they might be afraid to say that they need help. So which is makes it even more imperative to have that social element, that element for interaction. So as the biggest challenge, yes. And having these interactive course activities helps to mitigate against that. Yeah, because you now could see, because it's interactive, so it kind of gives the impression that it's an informal kind of vibe, and students can help each other. So no one student is left behind, so to speak. What are some interactive course activities that you might consider, knowing what the social presence is and what you're trying to accomplish? What are some, and when I say what you're trying to accomplish, you're trying to mitigate against students feeling being isolated or falling behind. What are some activities that you could think just off the top of your head that would facilitate the social presence? Okay, good. Discussions. So my learning discussions, for example, right? And okay, go ahead. Any more? Group work, good. All right, Muli, good. I wish I could give you a piece of cake, but I don't have any, and yeah, for that answer. Right, group work. Someone said breakout rooms. Very good. So Blackboard, you can do breakout rooms and allow for collaboration. And I'll give you one tip. When I use Blackboard, blogs, I like that, definitely. Polls, yes. So you're with it. What I do with breakout rooms in Blackboard, I allow students to do, let's say, a web quest sort of exercise, so to speak. I will give them a particular thing to look for. Just do a simple Google search and whatnot, and come up with, as a group, of course. I put them in groups. They do their web research and so on, and then they have to present what they found to the class. More times than not, these students will take this so seriously, and it doesn't take that much time. It's probably about 10 minutes, if so much. These students take this thing so seriously. Some of them would create a Prezi or presentation on Prezi, or try to create some sort of fancy presentation to outdo different groups. And of course, it makes the learning fun for them. So they're learning, but they're having fun with it. So even though yes, you have the adjustment to doing it remotely, there are different ways you could make it fun and more meaningful and memorable for them. So that's just a tip. If you want to use, if you're using breakout rooms in Blackboard, you could do that. Yeah, that's if you're doing it synchronously. Now you could do the same thing asynchronously. So students you can give the instructions, students can go their separate ways, create work, collaborate on presentations, and then come back and or post their presentations in a discussion forum for peer feedback and review, for peer review and feedback. So those are different ways in which and I'm saying this because I want you to have fun as well with building this, preparing your course. It could be a lot of fun. All right, so once you've planned and you identified some of the things that you need to adjust and the things that you need to create and so on, it's time to build. All right, and in order to build, you need my learning. Teaching is fun. Teaching is fun. Teaching is fun. It can be, yeah. Trust me, it can be. It's a lot of fun. Good. So once you have your plan, you know what you need to do, you know what you need to change, and you know what you're changing it to. So you know you're not doing a face-to-face exam. You might do a quiz, you might do a project report of some sort. So you know what you need to do. Now you're going to build it in My Learning. And off the bat, the first thing you need to do, because you would need to get access to your course. Yeah. Now I'm not sure how many. Let me probably do a poll. Now the first thing you would need to do is get access to your course. So to your course in My e-learning, right? Some, are you sharing? Yes. Okay, good. I thought I just had a technical issue on my machine here. So, okay, good. All right. So some people are saying yes. Most people, well, it's kind of close. Right now, most people seem to be, it's still close, but okay, now it's tied. So, and of course, this is referring to your upcoming course shell. Yeah? So I'll give you about 30 seconds just so I can have a more accurate response. Let me see. So it's tied right now. Because I haven't. Okay, you've never tried. No problem, Caroline. But in a case like that, I think you might lean more towards no, because there's a particular procedure to get your course, to get access to your course. And what I'll do, I'll share the link here in the chat. So that will be of use to you, right? So the first thing you need to do is get access to your course, as I'm saying. So I'm posting the link in the chat, guys. Now, this link, you want to use this link, and you could, I could give you a couple minutes just to fill it out. It's a request to get the enrollment key for your course. Now, to access your My Learning course, you're going to need an enrollment key. So this means you need to request the enrollment key. All right? All right. So just let me, I think my machine is trying to give some trouble here. So I'm just trying to mitigate against that. All right. So good. So you're going to need the enrollment key. So the first thing you need to do is request the enrollment keys. Request for the enrollment key. Now, when you click on this link, it'll take you straight to a form. It's a very short form. You could do it while I'm speaking, so it saves you time. You're basically gonna just have to insert your name, a contact number, I think an email address, and the course that you need to access. Right, I see. Okay, you did it this morning. Someone said that. Good. And now if you do it, I would recommend you do it now while you have the time. It only takes about 30 seconds. All you need to do is, once you remember the course code and the course title, and of course the semester, which would be semester 1, 2020, 2021. All right, and then you go forward, you click submit, and that's it. You should get your course enrollment keys within 1 or 2 working days. And generally you might get it by tomorrow for the latest, sometimes by this evening if you send it now. All right. So I'll give you a couple more seconds, just about 20 to 30 seconds, just to kind of fill out that form for those of you who don't have access just yet. Oh, you got yours in an hour. Okay, even better. So you already have yours. Good. Okay. So Caroline, in a case like that, I think you could send an email to me. or service desk, if you'd like. All right? And you could just give us some of the details if possible. So I could look and see if it's there in my learning. Now, let me just say this as well, guys. Now, all of the courses that are, existing in Banner, they already exist in my learning. It's just getting you to access those courses. Yeah? Yes, definitely. All right, and that's what I was going to say too. So sometimes it might be your AA, admin assistant, who might make the requests on your behalf. All right. Oh, let me just send it for you. So what you can do as well, Caroline, instead of sending it to me, let it come through your admin assistant as well. All right. Yeah, because it would expedite the process a lot more. Okay. So is everyone more or less finished with accessing and requesting your enrollment keys? Okay, Muli, you did it. Good. So that's the first step. So you've already begun. Now remember, the first step is really creating your course plan. So I'm going to take you as far as I can. And of course, not going too much into technology tools, as in how to use different tools, because we have separate sessions for that. And let me just say this as well. Look out for, within the next couple of days, we should be sending out let's say by early next week, we're going to be sending out some more training sessions and resources. Some of them you'll get here, so you get a special bonus. And yeah, so so you could look out for that. So those sessions may be more in depth in terms of, well, of course, depending on which session you might want to attend. A closer look at different technology tools or different features in my learning that may be of use to you. All right. So so after you've created your course plan, and even though some of you may not have created a course plan yet, you can still access your course enrollment key, because that is something you could kind of get done ahead of time. So once you get your enrollment key, I think the process for most of you might be familiar with it. You're gonna go to My Learning, and the link to My Learning, of course, let me just put it, I'll put it in the chat for those of you who may not be familiar with it. It's myelearning.sta.edu. All right, and usually, I'm hearing an echo. I think someone's mic was okay. Good. Right. Usually, to log in, it would be your staff ID number, and well, I guess you might know the password that you use for that particular site. If not, if it's your very first time logging in, you will have to click forgotten password. All right. And of course, after that, you're going to get a prompt to reset your password, and then it'll be via your staff email, and you're going to access it from there. All right. So moving forward very quickly, and let me know if you have any questions along the way, or if you need me to go over a particular process or element. Once you get into My Learning, okay, no problem. Yes, you'll be receiving the recording, and you should have also gotten a link very recently to evaluate the session. All right, Adele? Okay, so moving along very quickly, guys. So when you get into My Learning, you're going to look for search courses. That is usually at the bottom of the page or at the right column of the page, depending on the configuration of your machine. All right, on your browser. So it's either the lower right side or the bottom of the page. Yeah? So you click on search for courses here, as you see on this particular graphic. All right. And after that, now let me just bring it to your attention the previous two graphics. This page is really what when you log in and you have access to your course or any courses, prior courses, you're going to see it there. But let's say you're really interested in a new course, right? So you're going to go to search for courses here, which is this. Click on it, and then you're going to insert the course code. Some of you might want to do it now if you've logged into My Learning. Feel free to do that, and I could just walk you through very quickly. All right. So you click search for courses here, and a search bar will pop up. A new page will appear. At which point you're going to insert the course code. You don't have to put the semester and everything, just course code. All right. And then click search or go. When you do that, you're going to see the different versions of the course appear. At which point you're going to select the one that, of course, is for this upcoming semester. Yeah, semester 1, 2020-2021. All right. When you click on that, it's going to ask you, I think you're going to see enroll me, or you might see it, you will be prompted, I believe, to insert the enrollment key that you would have gotten. All right. And then you could copy. Now the enrollment key, when you fill out that form that I sent you earlier, when you fill out that form, you're going to get the enrollment keys via your whatever email you sent. I think it's normally a staff email. And you're just going to go back. You found the course in My Learning. Now you need to get into the course. So you're going to go to your staff email and copy that enrollment key that you got and then paste it in the necessary space. Now make sure you copy and use the correct key. Yeah? If you're a teacher, then make sure you copy the enrollment key for the teacher's role. If it's non-editing teacher, then copy the key for the non-editing teacher role. Yeah? Now the good news is that you would only need to do this once per course. So that's a good part of it. After that, you don't need that enrollment key anymore for you to enter the course. Yeah? Any questions on that, guys? No? Okay. So we could move a little further down. So once you access your course, it looks something like this. It's going to be very bland. All right. And yeah, it is not many bells and whistles. So now the good news for some of you who would have done stuff in My Learning before, let's say you did this particular course in My Learning last semester, you can easily copy the content from last semester or last year even into this current semester. So once again, you don't have to start from scratch, right? Fair enough? Now you can do this through different ways. I generally, if it's too much, sometimes I would ask people just to send me an email. I could do it very quickly for you. It only takes about 30 seconds depending on how large your course is. It doesn't take too long. Yeah? So any questions on that, guys? All right. So that takes us to the next step. Once you are in your course, now you're going to start to build. All right. So the building, of course, is where you're going to upload your content. Like I said earlier, you can copy your content from a previous course into the upcoming course, and that works for you. So you could, you get a head start basically, right? And you could tweak different things along the way. Well, not along the way, but you could tweak them in advance. All right. And once again, as we see here, make sure you have a course guide or a course plan. Again, this is recommended because it allows you to map out everything for both you and your students. All right. Now, right off the bat, I would start by, let's say if you did not copy your content from before, you started not from scratch, but not as a head, then you might want to start by just identifying the topics. So for example, you would see here topic 1, topic 2, topic 3, topic 4, and it goes all the way down sometimes to 15 or more. You can do that as well. You can start by just identifying what the different topics are and take it from there. That, you could start as small as that. All right. And then you could also upload your course content. Now, guys, uploading course content doesn't have to take very long if you're uploading all new content. It's actually quite efficient in this version of My Learning. Does anyone know how to do a bulk upload of content, or do you do it individually, like an individual file? Or you do it individually? Okay, well, let me make it easy for you. What I will do is share my screen. Right, so it makes it, yeah, that could be a bit time consuming, I'm assuming. I'd like to assume. So what I will do is, just give me 1 second, I'll share my screen to show you that, okay? So if I wanted to do a bulk upload of materials, let's say I'm doing this in a particular course. All right, let me just get to sharing my screen. Okay, so can you see the screen? Yeah? Okay, great. So this is what your blank course might look like. At which point you want to be able to, you may not be copying course content, but you just want to upload new content, all new content. To do that, all you have to do is turn editing on, and that's usually at the top right side, usually just under your name, right? The top right side, you turn editing on, all right? And you would notice that you would know editing is on because you see different buttons to edit, to add things, to do all these different things. Now I'm digressing a bit just because I think it'll be worthwhile to show you, right? Since most people seem to do it individually. So you would notice that I don't think you could see the folder that I opened next to my file, next to over this My Learning thing, but I will show you this. So all you have to do is, I'll explain it. So you go into My Learning, you turn your course, you turn editing on, all right? You go to the block where you might want to add the content, and it doesn't really matter at that point if you know what block, because you could shift it accordingly. And I'll show you that in just a bit. And if you have your content in a particular folder, let's say you have a folder on a module called course and lesson plans, all right? Then all you have to do is open that folder, highlight all of the files that you would like, and then what I try to do is bring the 2 pages side by side. So I might minimize, well, not minimize, but partially minimize the My Learning screen and partially minimize my folder with the different documents. And all I have to do is highlight all of them and then drag them into My Learning. So are you seeing add files here? You should see that in your screen. Add files here. Right. And so I'm dragging it now, and now I'm going to release. And they all should be popping up right now. So you see, bam. I just uploaded 5 documents into this course. Now, I think I said I would show you what how to move things around. So let's say you copied a whole bunch of information, dragged a whole bunch of information into your course site. What you can do thereafter is just, if it's out of order, that's okay. You can just click on this. Once it's in editing mode, you would notice also some four-headed arrows, all right, along the way. You just go and click on one of them and drag them to where you need that file to be. So I just dragged course plan from the bottom to the top. If I wanted to put it in another block, I could do that. I could bring it, click on it again and bring it up here. And then even put announcements at the top. So it's easy to navigate through the course, to navigate while, of course, uploading content. Any questions on that? Okay, so far so good? Okay, great. So yeah, so that should make it a little easier for you, Denise and oh, there's the other way, which is, well, it depends. You could also do a couple different things. Now those are more advanced features. Well, advanced is a relative term, but you might, if you have a folder, you could just create you could create a folder in My Learning. So all of these documents that you see here could go into one folder. Now you can't drag a folder into My Learning from your flash drive, for example, into My Learning. You would have to create a folder in My Learning and place your content there. All right? I can show you that very quickly. I know I'm digressing, but okay, well then, if we don't need to, then I could probably just go on with the presentation. Or would you like me to show you very quickly? All right, so let me see how quickly I can do this. All right. Okay, so to create a folder, of course, editing is turned on. All right. I go to add an activity and I click on resources. So remember that, click on add an activity. You click turn editing on, add an activity, and then resources. Now I can do several things. I can create a folder, or I can create a page, a web page. Let's say for this instance, I want to create a folder. I double click on folder. I can give the folder a name. Let's call this module 1 resources or readings. You know, something like that. You can give a description. It's not mandatory, but at this point, it'll be the same principle of dragging. Of course, you can do it by dragging, or you can do it by, now when you see this blue arrow, it means that you could upload stuff into it. I could do it by dragging stuff, like what I did before. So let's say I wanted to drag this stuff in here, I could do that. Or I can upload files or a folder. All right. So it works both ways. So let's say I wanted to, well, instead of doing an individual file, I could create a folder. So it's a folder in a folder. All right. And of course, I give the folder a name, and that could be that. In this case, I probably don't want to create a folder because this is a folder already, and I already have some documents here. So in that case, I'll just click add a file. When you add a file, it'll show you some of the recent documents that you uploaded, if your tab is on recent documents. If you want to upload an entirely new file, then you go to upload file, all right? And then you click choose. It's very much like an attachment. You click choose file. Let's say I wanted to include, let me see, this, all right? And then I just click, so remember I said it's just like an attachment, an email attachment, and you click upload. And it's there, it's added to the whole list of documents that I created. Then as I scroll down, I could set to open on a separate page. All right, the rest could stay as is, right? We don't have to go into that too much. And when I click save, everything appears in one folder. So instead of making it kind of messy and, you know, overwhelming, because, you know, the last thing you want is when a student enters your course, you know, they kind of hit with a bunch of information and it already gives that anxiety and overwhelming feeling. So what I would recommend is follow that procedure, all right, and look at take a look at it here. So module 1 readings, remember that's what I call it. And they click into it and they get all of the readings here. And they can download the entire folder. Yeah? So because I have that now, I don't need to go and do these individual ones. I could take these off. Right? I could take, you know, all these other things off and notice how it lends for a cleaner site. Yeah? So by the time I put, you know, I could put one with module 1 readings, then I could put, you know, activities, whether they be assignments, activities, and this is just to show you as well, while we're here, if I click on add an activity, once I've turned editing on, I click on add an activity and you can see all the activities and resources. If you know it's content that you want to upload of some sort, then you click resources, it'll narrow it down for you. If you want activities such as, you know, assessment activities, then you have all of them here. All right. No problem, Ruhani. So any other questions on that while I go back to the PowerPoint? We're all good? All right, so you want to ensure, like we said earlier, you want to ensure that you have your material there, your topics, and so on, and some material. Now the material might take different, it might look different to different, you know, it may not necessarily be like this, but you kind of get the gist of it. You have your forum, you have different documents, you would have seen what that looked like just now. So what I want you to do very quickly, I'm going to put you into groups. All right, I'm going to put you into groups and I want you to think of what you have. We have 28 persons here, so I'm just trying to ensure that we have, let me make it, okay, good. All right, so I'm going to put you into groups and I want you to think of the lectures that you do. And this is already a precursor to, you know, when you go leave this session to develop your course plan. Think of a lecture that you currently do face-to-face, for example, or reflect on all the lectures that you do and think of one that you can do asynchronously. In other words, you could give students the content you could engage them with the content and they can follow through with it independently. All right? And one person can present on behalf of the group. It doesn't have to be a presenter and accounting for all of the, the courses in your group. But you know, you could talk amongst yourselves, select one particular lecture that you do, let's say face-to-face, and then how you can modify that or adjust that given the current dispensation and the mandate for remote delivery. Yeah, do we understand that? Or is that clear enough? Okay, great. So you're going to be placed randomly into groups, and I'm going to give you about 10 minutes. So by 2:35, we should be back. Now, you might want to take a note of these activities, these instructions. Let me see if I could just copy it and send it to you. All right, and I think, so we can come back at 2:35, just expect that. before we move further in the session. Okay? So I'm going to send you into your groups now. It should be about 5 groups, I think. So let's go. Hi, guys. Is anyone in the main room still? I'm seeing Jason and Patrice. No? Okay. And I'm not sure if you're hearing me, but the rest of the group is the rest of the class is in a group activity. So they're about to finish in about 2 minutes, and at which point I will just bring them back with everybody. Okay? So we could probably just wait for about just a minute again, and we'll wrap up soon after.
I have been talking.
All right, guys.
Oh, yeah. Oh, here we are.
Yes, welcome back to the main room. All right. As I said, you would have been unceremoniously bumped out and back into the main room.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We were in the middle of an important discussion.
Yeah.
Oh no.
There's no timer that tells you, you have 10 more seconds.
No, I was just about to say that there's no timer to kind of alert you, when the group session is about to end.
Okay.
And the time it would take for me to go in each group to let you know that it would prolong it even further. So yeah, so I blame the software. But the good thing is, of course, it's not you don't have to be perfect with this. It's just to kind of get you to think. So very quickly, who wants to go first?
Let me go with mine.
All right, go ahead, Caroline.
All right. Okay. I was struggling with this in my group. But eventually we had a discussion and I told them what I do.
Okay.
I use BBC Collaboration online. So
Mm-hmm.
how it's done, if you have a core course, I would teach for 2 hours only.
Right.
And the rest of the module of that course, the students have to do work on their own. And
Right.
at the end of it, they have time, which was in the course plan, to know when they have to come back and do a presentation to demonstrate
Mm-hmm.
to the teams that they understand the content of that module. And they have to also have peer review to say if that
Ah.
presentation is still
Mm-hmm.
relevant to the team. Like, for example, of course, I teach them something that's in the books for the past 2, 3 years, whatever. But we have COVID now. COVID
Right.
now. How does that influence what I told them in the light of COVID? Because they are moving forward. So
Right.
this is how it goes. So it goes synchronous to asynchronous back to synchronous.
Right. I like that. That is that. Let me give you a little thing in the chat. I can't really give you a high five or anything, but so your group kind of did it, right? So you get a nice clap. Any other group? I guess the competition is on, right? Next. Anybody? All right, Denise, take it away.
Okay. Well, in my group, I had given one suggestion for a class I could have done, and one of my colleagues as well. She had one, Elizabeth. Basically, that things that require a lot of reading or just sort of content transfer. So in my
Right.
case, it was a class on the impacts of various pollutants on human health and the environment, which is just information. And that
Right.
could have just easily been something you sent them out to look up and come back and
Right.
report on. I think Elizabeth's own, she's in literature, and so she was discussing about a particular aspect of Chinua Achebe's his opinion on Heart of Darkness, and that the student would have to read his opinion piece and then be able to discuss later about it. So
very good, very good. So you gave two. So the competition's different. Let me give you a clap too. So you all did two different did it for two different courses, yeah, or sessions. So good, good, good. Let's take at least one more group. I'm just watching time, so we could take probably one or two more groups. Go ahead. Anybody? All right, go right ahead, Rian. Am I pronouncing your name correctly, by the way, Rian or Ryan?
It's Ryan, it's fine.
Okay, thank you. I'm so sorry. Ryan, go ahead.
Okay, so I, myself and Indrajit in my group, we spoke about, this will be my first time using this method of lecturing. And I was just given some idea into Indrajit's method, using lots of pre-recorded messages and then for the students to provide feedback. But for my course, there's this particular lecture where we talk about where the students create new products and identify the characteristics by using, it's a marketing course. So they price, product, placement, and so on to identify the characteristics of the product. What I would do, I would provide a recording before the class starts of what the topic it consists of, separate them into groups, let them go ahead and come up with their products together. And then at the end of the class, they would present it via either a document or a video or some sort of PowerPoint, and then we'll have a discussion again at the end. So
I like that.
So that was what came out of my discussion with Indrajit.
I like that. I like the fact, I like the different approaches you were taking and then how you were able to bring it all together in a discussion. And yes, the flipped classroom. Yes. So using terminology and things. Okay, good. Very good. I like that. I like that. So you see how flexible you could be in this approach. And because it's not, you don't have to rush it all in one session. You could give them that synchronous work and you could be a little more flexible with it, a little more creative with it. So definitely on the right path. Let me just give you the hand. Good, good, good. Any other group wants to go? You could just raise your hand, or you could just say yes if any other group would like to elaborate on theirs. Okay, no problem. All right, but I think the what we got so far from these three groups were, really, I like the way you guys are thinking. I like the direction you're taking. I like that you're using, you're being resourceful. So you get them to do some online research, you get them to do some independent readings, you get them to do some collaborative work, and then engage with each other for peer feedback. So you know what? So for example, Ryan, you know what and even the other groups, what you guys covered there would have been, even in that little module or that little, what would have been a normal, that asynchronous approach you took there for that one module or session. You satisfy the three elements that you needed: the teacher presence, the social presence, and the cognitive presence. Yeah, because at some point in time you did the interaction, whether it's a collaborative activity or the discussion forum. The cognitive presence, of course, the material that you're exposing them to, or even the material that they encounter themselves when they do their research. And of course, the teacher presence. So when you actually meet or even in the chat, in the discussion forum, you're helping them make the connections and keeping things focused and moving along. So yes, you're definitely on the right path, guys. At this point, I just want to ask, we may go just about 10 minutes over. I know we started not exactly at 2 o'clock, at 1 o'clock, because we were waiting for some people to arrive to join us. But is it okay if we go just an extra 10 minutes perhaps after 2? Yeah? Okay, great. I didn't want to, and then I respect your time. So we're just going to move along very quickly. So I like, and so you see it's not very difficult. It's not as much of a tedious process to make those adjustments. Yeah? But it can be very creative, very flexible, perhaps even more engaging than the standard approach. All right? So as we move forward very quickly, yes, and we made mention of having the course readings and materials and so on. Even in that activity we did just now, you must have the readings. If you're going to do an asynchronous approach, you must have the readings. Sometimes, and it may not be just readings, you might want to break it up a little bit with a video. Yeah? So for example, Elizabeth, the thing where they had to read, was it Heart of Darkness? I think, yeah? If it was that, yeah, okay, good. So, yeah, you're taking me way back there. But if it's Heart of Darkness, there may have been, let's say, you may have stumbled upon a lecture or presentation on that particular thing, talking about the writer's perspective on Heart of Darkness, or in Heart of Darkness, and some of the salient points in it. You could break, so it may not necessarily be a textual delivery of, something that students have to read. Okay, no problem, Safra. Right. Don't forget to look out for the evaluation in your inbox as well, right? And of course, I'll send you the recording. Yes, Arif, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt you, Justin. I just wanted to ask a number. Step 5. Ensure that your lectures are no more than 10 to 15 minutes each. For let's say for each topic you're doing, and why you
well,
10 to 15.
That is relative. Your lectures could be an hour, 2 hours. I wouldn't go more than 2 hours, but this particularly referred to materials that I was referring to. So for example, in addition to your reading materials, you might have a little video. It may not be you doing the actual video. It might be a video of some relevant content. Yeah. So that shouldn't be a whole. So you're not going to put necessarily a 30-minute YouTube video for students to look at, because that may not be as engaging. But if you look for shorter videos, whether it be, it could be, yes, it says lectures, but general material. Yeah. If it's recorded or dynamic presentations. Yeah, great. And thanks for raising that question. Definitely. But yes, so, and of course, even in your lectures, you want to be engaging. So just as we did the breakout room activity, just now the group activities, the polls. So some of the things that we were doing today, you can do the same if especially if it's a 2-hour lecture. Yeah, make sure it's not a lecture where you are doing all the talking. All right, so so this kind of covers some of the other salient things that you might need in your course. All right, no problem at all. And I hope I was pronouncing your name right as well. Good. So once you design all the materials and so on, then you come to scheduling your synchronous sessions. All right, and in Blackboard you could do that you could do that even from now. All right, you create your Blackboard activity and you schedule it, and when the time arrives, the Blackboard room will open up. Students can join it, you can join it, and you're good to go. How to do a breakout? Oh, no problem. Well, I'm not sure if I'll be able to show you, but I have documentation on it I could send for you as well. Let me just make a note. Send BBC doc. All right. So I could, because I think it's kind of hard to do it while doing one like this now. But I could write all these steps even now. I could map it out for you. Are you familiar with Blackboard at all? Well, yes, you are, Caroline. I will send you the document on it in Blackboard. With attendance, what I try to do is take the attendance during the session, so I know exactly who's here. So, for example, during this session, I was taking just a little tick of who is here, right? With Blackboard, one of the good things with Blackboard, when students try, sometimes with these synchronous sessions, a student can open up the session and you have no guarantee that the student is actually listening or following what's going on, right? So for example, you might, a student might have a session like this open and they're somewhere in another room in the kitchen making something to eat, but not really paying attention. And this is why it's so important to ask questions during your course, during your session. That's one thing. If it's Blackboard, when they minimize the page, it times them out. That's another benefit you have with Blackboard. So, these are different ways you can, and of course, different activities like the breakout rooms and all these different things. So that's one way of keeping attendance. I think I heard a query yesterday that to do it in My Learning, and I have to look into that. I just didn't get between that workshop yesterday evening and today, I didn't get to look into it, all right, with the SITS team. So definitely I could follow up on that, and perhaps tomorrow, sometime next week, and we could and I'll share that information with you when I get it. All right. So very quickly, you also want to have a course communication plan. And this is, instead of telling you about it, it's right here. So you see you have, like in this sample here, on the left side, we see, no problem, Denise. On the left side, you see you have a blurb of what the course is about and an audio introduction. All right. So the student just clicks on that file. It plays like about for 30 seconds, and that's it. Then you have queries or concerns and a news forum. The news forum is where you want to state different. It's like a bulletin board for your students. So that's where you want to keep them in the loop with different things. And you have your topics, topic 1, topic 2, etc. And the labels, what the topic is, the name of the topic. If you look at the right side here, we would see, let me just make sure I have the pointer on, good. You would see on this side, the role of technology in teaching and learning, all right? And then you have reading materials, activities, resources, etc. So this is a way in which it makes it easy for the student to navigate. I like to distinguish between readings and tasks, course activities and assessments and so on. All right, so the student knows what they have to read and they know the tasks for each module. And this is important because really students, they have 4 basic needs in a remote course, right? A remote or online course. They want to be able to access the material, whether it's lectures or asynchronous material, reading materials and so on. They need to submit, to get the instructions and submit their assignments. And they need to stay in the loop with what's going on, whether it's a news forum, the discussion forum, that kind of thing. All right. Now, while the 2 essential tools, and I mentioned this earlier, that you would need in your remote course delivery would be obviously My Learning and Blackboard Collaborate. All right, and I highlighted Blackboard Collaborate because that is the preferred, the mandated platform. Now, there are some instances, like, there are some people in CLL, for example, who may not have access to Blackboard, and so an alternative may be sought, but we have a mandate from the principal to use Blackboard Collaborate as much as possible, and of course, My Learning. Now, there are pros and cons, right? Some of you might be saying, well, okay, what about Zoom? Yes, Zoom is there for now. But as much as possible, we're saying that you should use Blackboard Collaborate. And here's some cons of both. They both record synchronous and even asynchronous sessions, all right? But then and of course they allow for breakout rooms and so on as well. Zoom just recently got that feature. But that's kind of where the similarities end. With Blackboard, you have a little bit of convenience where it's easily accessible. So it's like in My Learning, so it's a one-stop shop for students to get the links and to access the recordings. All right. And I can show you maybe at the end of the session how to get that. Then recordings are, like I said, stored in My Learning. And of course, like I said, it's mandated by the campus principal. So Zoom is something that will eventually be phased out. So you really want to get acclimatized. And of course, Microsoft Teams is in the pipeline. So you really want to get acclimatized to Blackboard until Microsoft Teams will be launched. All right. So let's look back at some of these steps. You need your course shell. Now, after you have your course plan and so on, you need your course shell. All right. You're gonna upload your course outline. All right, and your course plan, which would guide you in terms of the topics and the layout of your course and the activities and so on. All right, and that takes us to the identification of topics and concepts and activities that you'll need to include. Your course resources, reading materials, and so on. A schedule of the synchronous sessions. Now, your course plan might very well have the schedule as well of the synchronous sessions and asynchronous activities. So that works as well. And a course plan, it doesn't really have to be as grand as it's sounding. It's just establish a forum, a communication forum. All right, where can students go to read or keep up with any updates in your course? Remember, you're not seeing them face to face, and they can't come to your office, randomly. So you need to establish when and through what means they can contact you. All right. Any questions so far, guys? No? Okay, no problem. We'll just move very quickly. Assessments. Now, assessments can be, there are two basic types of assessments. You have the formative, of course, in course, and you have the summative, which is at the end. When you think of the end, you think of traditionally we think final exam. In normal conditions, it might be face-to-face. Recently, well, as recent as second semester, we had to make some amendments to that. However, as you are going into this semester, you have a little bit of flexibility. And hear what I'm saying. Now, as based on a meeting some weeks ago, I think, the provision has been made where you can, instead of saving it all for a big final examination, you may incorporate it as in-course assessments. Yeah, some departments are doing it actually. So for example, instead of having a final exam and the protocols that go with that, you can create more informal or midterm assessments. Yeah, which may range from a midterm quiz or series of midterm quizzes to a project or report to even a presentation, a synchronous or asynchronous presentation, you could decide. You will have to, however, to give account, you will have to give an account for some of these changes. I think that should be by mid-semester. Yeah. So keep in mind that, I'm just saying this so you know, and you know what's coming and you know the provisions that are being made. All right. Any questions on that? So in other words, you don't have to have a big, go ahead, Denise.
Okay, the question I had is a bit, I guess, a little technical. What I wanted to know, because at the end of last semester, the assessments, if you're doing a final exam, we had to do the alternative assessment thing.
Yes.
Given that, what about this year? I mean, for in courses and so, are we still prohibited from using like the quizzes on My Learning, or is it only for the final exam that is not allowed? What is it? How are we gonna go this term?
Right. How that is a ticklish. I see what you mean. It's a technical thing. Let me tell you what I would recommend. Right. I would recommend that you can use it, for example, a quiz activity, but you still would not want to have the quiz to be done all at the same time, like almost like a synchronous quiz. Yeah. So let's say, for example, you might leave the quiz to be done within a day. I'm just giving an example. All right, or a couple hours. But I think with the previous final exam protocols, we had I think you had to leave it for at least 2 to 3 days or a week or something like that. Right. You may not have to do that this round, well, particularly for formative assessments. All right.
Okay.
For high stakes exams, which would be the final exam, those things would have to be set. And of course, you'll have to go through the examination section, and that's where the protocols will come in. But there are some departments, and I'm just saying what is happening. Some departments have opted to resort to in-course assessments, so they don't have to go through the rigorous protocols, final exam protocols. Yeah.
Okay.
So that answers your question.
Yes, it does. So I guess with respect to that, we'd have to go speak to the department, go through departments and see what is what, because so far I've not heard. Because I imagine we would have to do the same thing that we did last year with the going through ACWAC, with the assessments and all of that.
If it's, from what I've been told, if it's a in-course assessment, or whatever changes you are making in your course for remote delivery, because remember there's that mandate for remote delivery now. So what you will have to do is account. There will be a time where you would have to account for the changes you've made to facilitate remote delivery, and that might be just a sort of list, basically, that would be handed over. Your head of department, for example, will organize, and of course that will go to ACWAC and so on, just for that sort of accountability, and but it would not be as rigid as the final exam and the examination protocols and so on.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
And if there are any updates, I'll try my best to send an email to let you know. But that's the most recent I heard. All right. Okay. So to help you with some of your assessments, you have a couple avenues, which may range from quizzes, as we said just now, to Turnitin, to regular My Learning assignments, to online presentations. Now, presentations do not have to be in Blackboard Collaborate. There are different platforms that you could allow your students to use for asynchronous presentations, all right? Such as screencasts. You have Screencast-O-Matic, for example. That's one platform. You have Google applications. That's another platform. So you have different avenues for that. Of course, a discussion forum is still there. Group projects. These things also help. Now, so notice I'm stating what we have in-house and what we have externally. So in-house, besides My Learning, of course, part of it would be My Learning assignments and Turnitin assignments. Just as we compared Zoom and Blackboard earlier, here we have a combination, a comparison between the two. Now, just off the bat, very quickly as you read here, Turnitin is more designed for text-based assignments. Keep that in mind. The moment students have a graph, an image, whatever that might be, then anything other than text, it's going to be a problem for Turnitin. what you're going to find is that the file is taken forever to process, or they never get the report, or all these different hiccups here and there. If it is that your assignment requires, or you would like to give students that flexibility to include diagrams and so on, then by all means you could create the regular My Learning assignment. All right. And of course, the regular My Learning assignment is a lot more flexible in terms of the formats that it would allow. Of course, Excel, Word, PDF, other things, even MP4s and MP3s, so video and audio material, it would allow that as well. So let's say, for example, if students have a presentation to make, then they can submit it in the My Learning assignment. All right. These are some links that would help you with regard to creating a resource in My Learning. Well, I think I showed you how to create a resource earlier, how to do a bulk upload, how to create a forum, how to create an assignment and a regular assignment and a My Learning and a Turnitin assignment in My eLearning. All right. And like I said, I will also send you a link to this presentation, so you don't have to scramble to take note of this link, of these links. In addition to some of these tutorial videos, you also have a range of ICTs that would help you along the way. Of course, I mentioned earlier Blackboard and My Learning. Turnitin, if that's the kind of assessments that you would like to have. There's also a platform, a game-based platform, collaborative tools such as Google applications. Microsoft has certain tools as well, Padlet, and even My Learning, it's in-house, yeah? Now with game-based learning, you can do it through different ways. You can do it through a shared screen approach, where let's say if I had a game up now, I could share that game with you and you participate. All right. If you'd like, I could do it. I just don't want to keep you back with regard to time. But I could probably show you close to the end of this session. All right, we're about to wrap up. And yeah, so I can show you that very soon as we wrap up. So the way forward, you want to start with your course plan, and maybe at the same time you could start putting in your course content if you have course content already. It's a good place, it's a good time to get that up there, and of course you make the tweaks along the way in accordance with your course plan. All right, after you have your content up, then you create the learning activities. All right, as per your course plan. Then when you create your learning activities, you create your assessments, whether it's a remote, well, obviously in this case it's remote, right? Yeah. So for example, Molly, the course you did last semester, well, not last semester, let's say you did a course semester 1 last year, that can be copied into this semester. And then you can tweak, so you don't have to start from scratch. Yeah? Great. And if you need me to do it for you, you can send me an email and I'll try to get to it as soon as possible. Okay? And here's a little, now I shared this with one faculty yesterday, but I figured it would be a nice way to show you that it doesn't take too long, it shouldn't take too long to really prepare your course for remote teaching and learning. Why? Because you already have a course outline, so that's at least half the time cut there. You already have some material at least, so that's another benefit you have. So at this point, all you have to do is create your course plan, tweak your activities, tweak your assessments, and tweak the synchronous session. So those 3 things you want to keep in mind. All right. Once you've done that, the next step, of course, is to review it, make sure everything is cohesive, everything is on point. All right. And you could do that with, get a colleague to look at it for you. You could walk them through the course. All right. once you review it, now in reviewing, you want to pay attention to these 6 elements. You know, if you have a course overview or welcome note, the technologies that you're incorporating, if it's external or internal, the look and feel of your course, so the layout and the design, where do I go to get assignments? Where do I have to scroll all over the page and get lost and so on? What are the assessments? Yeah. What are the resources, the reading materials? Are they functional? Are they, you know, relevant? And of course, interaction. Now you could see here, the 3 elements I refer to: teaching presence, cognitive presence, and social presence are all here. Yeah. And once you review it, then you're free to deliver. All right. Any questions, guys? Okay. So this is just to recap some of the objectives. Well, the main objectives that we looked at remote teaching and learning, and really describe what it is. Remember, we said it's something that is temporary in our context, and we know why it's temporary. We looked at some of the course changes that may be necessary as you transition to remote teaching. For example, the group activity, where you might have to tweak some of your synchronous sessions into asynchronous things, and of course asynchronous activities and so on. You might have to tweak the assessments. That's another area you'll have to tweak. And we looked at some of the technology tools. Why should we use Blackboard over Zoom? What are the pros and cons with Blackboard and Zoom? What are the pros and cons with Turnitin versus a regular My Learning assignment? Yeah, and those sorts of things. And of course, we looked at My Learning and some of the features in it. All right. So as we come to a close, if you need any help and support, we have different avenues that you can seek. So if you need to contact me, you could contact me via this email, ctl_bl@sta.uwi.edu, or at my regular staff email, justin.zephyrin@sta.uwi.edu. I could probably just type that in there. All right. If it's a technical issue, let's say, for example, course access, if it is you fill out that form and for whatever reason you haven't gotten the enrollment key, or you can't remember your My Learning access credentials or so on, or if you have any sort of query with technical queries, then you could also send an email to servicedesk@sta.uwi.edu. All right. A link to a workshop evaluation, a session evaluation, should have been sent to your email already. So please remember to fill that out so I can get some feedback on and know where I can improve and how I can improve. All right. And as we go forward, guys, always try to keep it collaborative, practical, be creative. Yeah, it's not it's not as much work as you think, and even if it is, you think it might just be an effort to adjust. It's something that you have, and because you put it there, we can always copy it into our next semester. Yeah, so like Muli, I know I worked with Muli last year on one of her courses, and so we could easily copy that content if she wanted to into this one, and then she can tweak and tweak and tweak. All right. So yeah, thank you so much, guys, for attending and participating. And if you need any further support, again, feel free to contact me. You already sent the email. Okay, good. And now, Muli, it's just for you to send that cake, right? Definitely. You are most welcome, Sandra, and Muli, and Roderick, and Caroline, and Rahani. No problem, Prof. Have a great afternoon, everyone.